Good morning, and thank you for joining me for 5 Good Minutes in the Word. Today, we're going to be talking about the historical and cultural setting behind the book of Revelation. Revelation was written at a specific time to a specific group of people about their specific issues and the things that are about to take place in their lives, the lives of their children, and their grandchildren, which he makes clear in verse 1. Yesterday, we introduced the book of Revelation and we talked about apocalyptic as a genre. That's important to remember that this is an apocalyptic. And all apocalyptics do not describe the end of time. Jesus in Matthew chapters 24 and 25 talks about the fall of Jerusalem and the end of time. And John in this book talks about the fall of Rome and then the end of time. We need to talk about the cultural setting. Here at the end of the first century, Christianity is a very powerful force, a growing force to be reckoned with in the Roman Empire as a movement. It's not really yet an institution. Christians are members of a sisterhood of local congregations led by a plurality of elders at the end of the first century. Christianity is existing in a time when no one really believes in the old polytheism of Greek and Rome anymore. The mystery religions of the East are quite popular. Judaism was popular until the fall of Jerusalem in AD 70, but honestly, a lot of folks are just pretty much atheists and follow philosophy or follow their pocketbooks or their stomachs at this time. I don't want you to think that Christians were unrelentingly persecuted for 300 years because that just is not the case. There were waves of persecution, there was localized persecution a lot of times surrounding the refusal of Christians to follow the emperor cult. There were emperors that were insistent they be worshipped as gods, and Christians would not do that. And that factors into the book of Revelation quite strongly. We'll talk about that tomorrow. Just some dates that I want to talk to you about that will describe the events, the historical events that cover the time period that I think the book of Revelation is talking about. In AD 95, which is contemporary with the writing of this book, Domitian, if he found any important Roman citizens, those who are participating in government, if he found out they were Christians, he started to exile them. And because of this disfavor of Christians, there became intensified local persecution of Christians, especially in the province of Asia, which this is the province that's going to receive the letter, the Apocalypse that we're talking about, the book of Revelation. But in 122 AD, in less than 30 years, Hadrian, the Emperor Hadrian, would issue his rescript, which makes it illegal to arrest a person just for being a Christian. If a Christian is a law-abiding citizen, he then has nothing to fear from the empire. But if he breaks the law, then he can be charged with being a Christian, and being a Christian is a capital offense. Hadrian's rescript, which is like an executive order, saved a lot of Christian lives for more than 120 years until AD 249, when Decius voids that rescript and commences the first empire-wide persecution of Christians and an attempt to end the practice of Christianity altogether. It was not that successful, but it was renewed more vigorously in AD 303 by Diocletian, who was emperor at the time. And he began what is called the Great Persecution, and thousands of Christians died. This was a genocidal pogrom throughout the entire empire, which did not really end until AD 313, when Constantine seized the throne and became emperor of Rome and legalized Christianity with the Edict of Milan. Constantine was not a Christian, would not be a Christian until his deathbed, but had a vision in his head before the decisive battle of a flaming cross. And so he felt like he owed Christianity, solid, and he legalizes Christianity in 313. And then later on in 320, he makes it the official empire religion of the empire. And then in 325, he calls the Council of Nicaea to hammer out a creed statement that he can enforce. And so at the end of this era of persecution, Rome legalizes Christianity, and then it takes control of Christianity and turns it into something that it was never intended to be. All of these things are talked about in the book of Revelation. The persecution and also the apostasy, and the way people will take Christianity and warp it to mean something that it never meant. Okay, well, that's the historical background to the book of Revelation, which looks forward to the fall of the Roman Empire in the 5th century and how Christianity in the aftermath will be forever changed until it is restored. So, anyway, that's our background for today. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking about the book of Revelation itself. Thank you for joining me for 5 Good Minutes.